to today's Google Hangout, one of my favorite things that we do here at BTR. And today it is about Ccap Edge QAM convergence. And I am very, very excited to be working with three pros in the industry, particularly in this discipline. Tal Laufer, Kat Reeves, and Ty Pierman. I'm going to ask you each to introduce yourself, give us your title, and tell us real quickly what you do. Kat, I will start with you. How are you?
I'm well, Tim. Thank you. So I'm with Time Warner Cable. I'm Director of Network Engineering and Architecture for our Edge team. So we focus on CMTS and Ccap, and we also do system integration testing, system-wide level testing for CPE.
Great. And Tal?
Hi. So I'm Ty Laufer. I'm a Director for Product Line Management for Aris. I am responsible for the Ccap convergence on our product, the 6000 Converged Edge router. And what I do is mostly meeting with customers, collecting their requirements and needs, and defining architecture and design for the Ccap implementation, basically.
Thanks, Tal. And last but not least is Ty.
Hi, I'm Ty Pierman with Comcast. I work at our next generation access architecture group, and my predominant responsibilities today are working with the Ccap converged services, and we also are starting to work on a little bit of the DOCSIS 3.1 testing as well.
Wonderful. And as I said, this is an esteemed group of professionals. I do want to thank our sponsor, of course, today, which is Aris. You can see them at aris.com. And also thank my friend Irvi Shah for beating me about the head to get this all put together beautifully. Thank you, Irvi, if you are out there in cyberspace. So, Ccap and its next phase. You know, it's been around for a while. Of course, I remember Caesar and CMAP, and you know, we've moved across into Ccap, and there's a persistent increase in demand for narrowcast services, high-speed data, video on demand. We're moving forward and forward and forward. And the reason that we wanted to get you on the phone or on the in cyberspace here is to just talk a little bit more about where we're going. The original drivers. My first question is basically, the original drivers seem to be space savings, power efficiency, and operational simplification. Let's start with you, Ty. Do you think are the things that kind of started the movement still relevant?
Yeah, I really think so. You know, we've gotten to the point now where we're doing some trials here in Comcast, and I think that's one of the big benefits that you get from Ccap when you really look at being able to collapse some of your combining. Also, you know, you do have the ability to add more capacity onto your plant depending on how you're running your services. So that's probably one of our biggest drivers right now is really the ability to do that. And then, you know, as moving forward with new services, being able to collapse those services onto a single platform as opposed to using, you know, edge QAMs and a CMTS in our networks.
Tal?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that if anything, the motives are getting stronger and stronger as time goes by. Not only is the space and power saving, you know, are being materializing right now with the convergence of those products, we also see new motives for the Ccap convergence, which are part of the SET 2020 committee for power saving. We can see that the power saving that you get with the Ccap convergence is actually benefiting everybody and helps with the power saving in the hub. But also we see that the Ccap convergence is basically leading us towards the distributed access architecture thinking or process. We see that customers are looking to find more efficient way to deliver the amount of gigs into the home. Starting with 1 gig now, it's going to be 2 gig. Finding efficient ways to do that for broadband internet, but also for video services. The convergence itself is an enabler for this kind of high-speed data delivery eventually to the home using the distributed Ccap architectures.
Kat, how are you seeing it from your end?
Well, we actually have gone pretty far down the Ccap road, and we have a production. It's not a trial; it's in production for us, and we have seen significant savings on power, and I want to say it's something like 30% savings on floor space, which is great in a crowded, dense urban market where we've deployed it. So we're really pleased with how that's worked out so far.
So what I'd like for you is to talk amongst yourselves on this first point: power savings, power efficiency, operational simplification. Somebody lead off, and maybe
Well, I guess one thing that was really surprising to us was when we started to look at, I think generally you think as you turn up more QAMs to go on to a Ccap platform that you're going to draw quite a bit more power. But what we actually saw in doing some of the lab testing was as we powered our edge QAMs down, we really didn't see our power footprint increase that much with just turning up those additional QAMs. So we actually improved our power footprint much more than we thought. I don't know if anybody else has kind of looked at that at all, but that was kind of one of the big surprises for us as far as power goes.
Ty, we did find the same thing. So when you already have a large chassis running and you've already got processors running and line cards generating signal, when you add a couple QAMs to that and then go turn off racks and racks of legacy QAMs, we have seen tremendous savings.
Good. Yeah, and I think one of the other things working with our some of our facilities guys, a lot of times when we look at what our power draw is, a lot of times it's more of a calculation as opposed to a reading in some cases. And what we find too is the edge QAMs, they have a much higher usage factor because they're always on. So we did kind of see that benefit as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Inside our engineering, we are looking into how much power does it really add to the power draw of the chassis when you add those additional channels that are used for the video QAMs. And since most of the components on the chassis themselves are being used already for the high-speed data services, the video does not add much. It's just a very, very small increase in terms of 1, 2, 3% of rise in the power that when you just turn on those video channels. When you actually, in return, take out of the network, out of the power, the entire rack of edge QAMs, for example, and combiners and switches and everything else that is needed to make the edge QAMs work.
Yeah, and I think one additional advantage too is as you remove some of the combining architecture, it's kind of getting us ready, in our case, to start preparing our networks for 3.1. As we turn up more QAMs within the Ccap, we're going to have to turn the power down, and so for that, removing some of those combining elements helps us out on that side as well.
And it also helps to simplify things, so there are fewer touch points in the network.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Operational simplification. I've seen this written, by my own editors and in the trade press. I would love to hear a little bit more about that. Like, where is the true? I get it, but can you expound a little bit?
I guess on our side right now, I wasn't sure I was going to go. On our side, we haven't seen the efficiencies yet because right now we're still in the trial phase. But what it is doing is today we run basically our video, our VOD and high-speed data are pretty much run as two separate services. So kind of the first step for us is really combining those together, and I think we're going to get benefits long term for that. As we go into the distributed architecture and even the IP video side of the world. So right now for us it's a lot of bringing different operational groups together, creating different workflows. Capacity management is a little bit different now. So on our side right now it's kind of developing additional tools to run a box that has both services on it. That's kind of where we're at with ours. I do see the efficiencies down the road because it will end up going to pretty much a single team that can really manage that box and really look at it both on the high-speed data and the video side. You'll still have people that have different expertises in that group because video is its own beast. So from that standpoint, I think the groups are just going to be combined a little more, at least on our side.
I know for us, since we have our deployment in full swing, we have been able to remove lots of cables. That means fewer loose connectors where you can get leakage and that kind of thing. So we've been able to pull out a lot of stuff out of the plant. But you raised a good point about the operational model, and that's something that I think we're still getting our arms around. We have all the right people talking and getting together. But legacy, the way it was done previously was we had a video team who took care of video, and we had an engineering team for HSD that took care of HSD. HSD likes CLI, and the video folks like a GUI. So we're trying to figure out how do we, bring the two together and have an operational model that makes sense. So if there's a problem at 4 in the morning, the right group gets the call.
Yeah, these are great, I think, and we built products to deal exactly with that and materialize on all those benefits. I think one of the best things about the Ccap is that it allows you to manage less boxes. So you have one point that you go to in case of a failure. You don't have to start searching between different boxes and different elements inside the network.
I think one of the other benefits I think we're going to see long term as well is and it's a challenge as well, is our services have a different growth rate. So if you really look at high-speed data services in our business today, they're growing much faster than, say, baud capacity. But as what we're looking at here is really combining those service groups. So they look like a single service group. But as you do that, you end up adding more capacity onto the plant. Now that capacity can either be used, be applied for your high-speed data, or since you could also reduce the QAMs on your baud side to move it over the high-speed data. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility. So right now, I'm a big advocate of combining both service groups so that the high-speed data and the VOD are completely aligned. We haven't done too much of the replication so far.
I wanted to ask one thing, and then again I'll step back. But not everyone always drinks the Kool-Aid, right? And I see you smiling, Kat. That's for sure. What are the common objections against it? Version of change, everything moving to IPTV. Who'd like to go?
I'll start since you caught me grinning. I think, I mentioned getting our arms around the operational model. I think, the largest discussion we had internally was really how to support this. And I don't know that was necessarily an objection. It was more of a hurdle, something that we had to figure out and get past. Honestly, the efficiencies that we've realized already have made it hard to argue with Ccap. So I don't really have anything else to add to that. I think we were on board pretty early with this idea. We've been testing the lab for years, and we've had our deployment going for I think about a year now. So it's definitely proven itself.
Ever since the Caesar days, right?
Well, that was early, yeah. But we were testing in the lab, not too long after it became collapsed Caesar and CMAP and the Ccap.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think one of the objections we have, or one of the counter arguments to it is. On the VOD side, as I talked before, our VOD growth, our capacity is really, slowed down quite a bit compared to, what our high-speed data growth is doing. So, there is some thought that we don't have to put that much more money into that side of the business. And so that's probably one thing we have seen, because it is, when you do converge, it is another maintenance window. It's, it's customer impacting. You've got people in the head ends doing work. So from that standpoint, there are some points to that. That's probably one of the biggest ones that we've really seen, with working forward on this project.
Did you anticipate the VOD slowing down and high speed going up as fast and as quickly as?
Well, I think it's not. I guess in a way, VOD's really not going down. I guess what's happening is, some of that's moving to streaming, and then as our services move more to streaming. A lot of our legacy products are going to start to flatline and maybe go down as the services get transitioned to another environment. So we're starting to see a little bit of that now, and then as we transition to an MPEG-4 environment and things like that, you're going to have more efficiencies in those services as well. So there's some things that are driving that also.
Okay, Tal, I did want to just ask you this one, because you're in a little bit of different situation on the vendor side. Is that what are you seeing across your customer base? Not Kat obviously is speaking as far as how she perceives things with Time Warner. Ty, of course, is speaking with Comcast, but you get to experience it from other operators. What are they having to say? Or
so it's very different, and it's a very good question. It's very different in the U.S. compared to Europe. Just more movement in the Ccap direction right now in the U.S. compared to say Europe or other parts of the world. We see very different approaches from very different operators, because they are starting from different positions. And that's fine. There are some operators for which the convergence model fits better, and some that may not reach it or reach it in a later phase. In all the cases, I think even those that are less interested or were less interested in Ccap convergence, all of them are starting to ask about it now because they understand that in order to really move to longer term remote PHY and remote Ccap, they will have to converge the video and the data together to really realize the benefits of those distributed access architectures. So, it will, I think, it depends on the different starting point, different existing architecture, sometimes different RF plant. And all of them are looking at it differently, but it's a matter of schedule eventually. I think, at the end, they will all. I'm sorry, team, I did not hear that.
I can't hear you, Tim. I can hear you, Tal.
How about now?
There we go.
There we go. Tal, you broke up on your last sentence there, and on the key part of your thought. I was just hoping you could repeat that for me.
Sure. I was just saying that a lot of customers are asking about Ccap even if they were not interested until now because it's a path towards the distributed access architecture. So, they are saying that they may not want to get to convergence now or next year, but eventually they may want to go there in order to really realize the benefits of the distributed access architecture.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for sharing that. I was really interested in hearing kind of your perspective. I thought I had gotten a little glitch on the audio, and I realized that I had forgotten to also press my mute button. So, if you're just joining us now, you've joined our Google Hangout on Ccap EdgeCom Convergence. My name is Tim Herms. I'm the publisher of BTR. And I'm here with Tal Luffer from Aris, Ty Pierman from Comcast, and Kat Reeves from Time Warner Cable. And this is sponsored by Aris, and you can see them at aris.com. So I'm going to keep going, and let's talk about maximize hub efficiency and some of the current industry dynamics. Obviously, there's a lot of efficiency opportunity with Ccap, floor space, power, etc. I'm going to leave the floor open, and whoever would like to speak, please do.
Yeah, I guess I'll say one more thing about that too. And when we take this out and really talk to the markets and talk to the folks who are running the facilities, it's very rare that they actually get to take something out of their head ends. So that's really and sometimes it's not as much as we want, but at least it's a step in the right direction. So that's what I've been very surprised about, is even if they get just a little bit back on the space and power side, to them it's worth it. When you've got these fixed facilities and you can't really expand the facility without building another building, and we're continuing to roll out more and more high-speed data service groups and capacity on that side, something's got to give. And so this gives us a little extra to work with.
I'll agree with that. I mean, for us, it's proven very helpful in really dense areas where real estate's at a premium. And you're right, it seems like we're always adding things, and to be able to take out some qualms is fantastic. It frees up so much. But even in areas that are less dense, even if we're not doing a video convergence, just the density that the platform gives us has already proven to be excellent, and leaps and bounds beyond what we had before.
Now, Kat, do you see it driven more from your smaller hub sites or larger hub sites, or is it kind of equally beneficial for you?
In the case of video convergence, it has to do with density and the premium of real estate, right? So New York City is the example. It's very hard to get more real estate there. So we find that we're able to really improve on what we have by reducing the overall footprint of the equipment. So again, pulling out the qualms, putting in Ccap, that's where we find the benefit.
Great. Let's see.
Tell me about, I'd like to learn more about how this is all working into the SCTE Energy 2020. SCTE does a really good job And I did have a chance to walk through their display when I was at the expo a couple weeks ago. It was really interesting.
I haven't really. We've kind of provided some of our numbers that we've got off of the chassis and the facilities costs to some other groups that have done some of the presentations. I haven't been, directly impacted or responsible for some of the 2020 stuff. But and I can say too, like if you're looking at, if you take the, going from an older, a legacy CMTS chassis to a CMTS chassis to then converging services. I mean, if you really look at the difference in the power footprint you have, it's incredible. So from that standpoint, there's great efficiencies. In our case now, what we're doing is we're going from a Ccap platform to a converged Ccap platform. So the benefits are still there, but they're a little more incremental than that first large step going to an installed CMTS Ccap.
So
I would agree, and I would say that I'm very happy to have the modern technology allow us to do that. The new types of chips, CPUs, FPGAs, really allow us to build more density into the product and get much more data passing per watt, per single power unit. And we're actually looking into more ways to do that in the future using the SET 2020 initiatives. How do we, for example, turn off some of the unnecessary equipment when we don't need it? If there's a low usage at a certain period of time in the day, can we turn off some of the processors, say even cards that we have in the chassis, and save on power for those hours with the low utilization? So a lot of new interesting things are going on in this kind of committee, and we're following up on that very closely in ours.
Thanks, Tal. I really did want to learn more about that, so I appreciate you sharing that. So there's I'm going to use the migration word, and I know that that's this giant, it's a giant term that's kind of all-encompassing in our world right now because it's the migration to IPTV. Tal, I'm going to keep you on the spot. How do you envision everything rolling out from the vendor side?
So it is a fascinating move, to be honest. It's moving from the older type of technology to the new one, and we're monitoring this closely as well and trying to see where does it emerge the most and how do we provide to the needs of our customers needing to migrate to IPTV. And Ccap is a big part of that because basically one of the ideas behind Ccap was to converge the QAM type legacy channel distribution with the data traffic that is going out to those modems and CPEs at the end, and that convergence also allowed the migration to happen much easily because then at some point when you want to migrate from the legacy type of architecture to the new type of architecture to IPTV, you just need to turn off a QAM channel and turn it back on as an IPTV channel. Turn off the legacy MPEG transmission and use the exact same bandwidth, the exact same spectrum even, to turn on a new channel that will hold the IPTV content and send it out to those new gateways, those new handheld devices, everything that consumes the IPTV content without any recabling, without any changing in the plant. You just, in terms of just changing the configuration and possibly applying a license to move from this one type of channel to another type of channel.
I absolutely agree with Tal. It gives us tremendous flexibility.
Yeah, I do too, because once you basically have all your capacity come off of a single port, you don't have to go out and deploy people to realign your service groups or anything like that. So I think that's one of the huge advantages. I think long term is it just gives you more flexibility and you can do it much quicker. You can manage it.
I guess my next question is moving from the word migration to architectural evolution and strategies. What are you seeing, Ty?
Well, I think the one that Tal mentioned too was, really going down the distributed architecture path. To do that, you really are going to have to converge your services. So right now, today, we're converging our narrowcast services. So that's really the first step. Then the next piece is looking how you're going to get your broadcast services pushed out to the edge as well. So this is just one step in kind of the final chain of all this. But it also goes back to distributed architecture, we're putting so much pressure on our facilities today that you know, there's only a couple ways to bust out of them. One, you build a new building, or two, you start deploying that deeper into the network. And so that's really, you know, converging these services helps us out with that.
How about you, Kat?
Yeah, you know, at the show a couple weeks ago, I saw a lot of distributed architectures from all the major vendors. So it's definitely interesting, and I can see the use cases for you know, MDUs, particularly areas where we have longer fiber runs, where it makes sense to maybe put stuff out and you know, remotely. So it's interesting. You know, definitely watching to see how that continues to evolve.
We are at about 4 minutes to go, and I would like to step back and here I know that this is a classic question that happens in interviews and conversations such as this, but that is crystal ball it. You know, Kat, since I got you on the video here, I'll let you go first. Where are we in 5 years from now?
Gosh, hopefully on a beach somewhere. But I see. Okay, crystal ball. So I think for us, you know, we will continue to deploy fully converged Ccap across our footprint. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time. Obviously, you know, there's a lot of considerations. DOCSIS 3.1 on the horizon, the continuing demand for bandwidth. So we're going to be addressing all those too, and I think we'll be able to do it with the Ccap platforms that we're buying today.
Tal?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that converged platforms are still going to be there in 5 years. I think we're going to see some more bifurcation of the market itself, you know, a breaking down, fragmentation of the different architectures that are being used by different operators. I think to some it will make more sense to go to the distributed access architectures earlier rather than others. So I guess we will see a lot of different types of architectures and different operators in the remote locations compared to the centralized locations. There will be a little bit more varied type of architecture out there.
Ty?
Yeah, and I think I kind of agree with Tal and Kat as well. And I think in 5 years, I don't think we're going to be at our end state. So I think we're going to have a mixture of architectures within our network, depending on what our deployment plans, what our market needs are. You know, I see converged as being part of that. And then, you know, then we look at, you know, where will distributed architecture go, and, you know, in those markets, it would definitely be required if that's the path we decide to go down. But I do, and I you know, for us right now, you know, I see converged as a, you know, a potential solution, maybe not across our complete footprint, but it definitely is valuable in certain areas, especially where we have space and power concerns, and supporting some of the newer architectures as well.
Great. Well, 30 minutes flew by. I think that we can all agree, and I absolutely enjoyed this discussion because you three combined have forgotten more than I ever will hope to learn or understand about broadband engineering without an engineering degree. And it was a pleasure visiting with each of you. Kat, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tal, thank you very much. It's very nice to meet you today. Ty as well, and I hope that everyone has a great afternoon. I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in today on our BTR Google Hangout on Ccap, and you can see we do have that on the BTR webpage on the homepage. It also is available on YouTube. If you just go to btreport.net, you'll be able to see it. Be sure to tell your friends or share the link if you'd like. I also would like to thank our sponsor, Aris, at aris.com, as well as my friend at Aris, Irvi, who helped me get this all put together, and I'm very, very grateful for that as well. And my name is Tim Herms. I'm the founder of BTR, and tomorrow is my last day with the company, and I will miss everyone in this space, at least for the time being. And have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.